Episode 60 at Winning at Work with Nicole Sopko. She's the vice president at Upton's Naturals, and she's a board president at the Plant-Based Food Association. And that's why she joins me today. I was really curious. I wanted to learn more about why did the plant-based food companies come together, form an association, and what are the benefits for those companies? We got into the threats and the regulations and the other industries that are coming at the Plant-Based Food Association through the legislatures, and it's made it quite difficult for these plant-based food organizations. So if you're a big supporter, there could be some opportunities for you locally to be an advocate, into your own state legislatures to help these companies kind of get rid of some of these onerous regulations. You'll find out a little bit more about that in the episode. And she's very knowledgeable about what's happening there. So it's going to be a great episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. This episode is brought to you by Join Us Search Group. Join Us is a national food and beverage executive search firm. They specialize in placing sales, marketing, innovation, and operational professionals. So if you're a CEO or you're a general manager, maybe you're a vice president over one of those functions, and you've got a critical need, or you're doing succession planning, or frankly, you've just lost a person in the organization because it is such a hot market and people are changing jobs, contact Join Us Search Group. We'll put together a customized search program, and we'll scour the industry to find the very best talent. Guys, if you're enjoying the episodes, if you're listening to it here on LinkedIn, share it on LinkedIn to help increase the executive's influence and the subject matter, throughout the people in your network. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or one of your favorite listening platforms, I hope you subscribe so you can listen to all the episodes as they come out. Right now, I'm on a Tuesday, Thursday rotation. They come out twice a week because I've got so many guests that want to be on and things that we're talking about. So I'm publishing now about twice a week. Sit back, enjoy this episode with Nicole. Nicole Sopko, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you are currently the vice president at Upton's Naturals, and you are the board president at the Plant-Based Food Association. Is that correct?
Yep, that is right.
Well, that is a huge accomplishment, being one of the founding board members. And I'm really curious to know, how did this even come about? Why did the plant-based companies decide to come together? What was the mission or the thought behind that?
A lot of companies like ours, especially those plant-based companies that are making alternatives to animal products, a lot of us were facing the same kind of regulatory issues, the same kind of legal issues. We had the same kinds of, labeling and ingredient sourcing questions. And so by coming together and forming this organization, it really gave us a united voice, a place to connect with each other, to communicate with each other, and support the overall growth of the industry.
So how did you and Upton's become the beginning phases of this? Was this what's the backstory behind that?
Yeah. There had been a group that was kind of discussing the idea. And at one of the natural product expos, Jamie from Tofurkey came up to me and we were chatting, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about this thing? Do you want to get involved?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And however many years later, here we are.
It's a smart move because you've got all these essentially startup companies, with the exception of a few that have gotten a lot of funding and are, public and just really, really large. Most of you guys are still in that forming, storming, and, expansion mode. So it makes perfect sense that you would all kind of band together. Do you get involved in any sort of discussions around sustainability or advocating for, more plant-based foods? Does that missionary work kind of come into the board or to the organization as well?
Yeah, I guess first I'll say that, a lot of our member companies have been around for a long time. Tofurky's been around for a long time, Follow Your Heart, decades. Even us at Upton's Naturals, we've been around for 15 years, but you're right. The reality of our industry is that we're constantly growing and expanding. So I think people perceive plant-based foods as an almost totally startup industry. But a lot of these players have been around for a long time and have really, really set the stage for the things that you're seeing happening now, where plant-based and meat alternatives and dairy alternatives are really at the forefront. So
thank you for clarifying that, because you're really referring to the early stage pioneers who were doing all the work behind the scenes, and then these last couple of years it's really just blown up. And a lot of the companies that I've talked to, they are new. So thank you for really kind of clarifying that this is not new.
Yeah, no, it's not new, and I think it is an interesting distinction that the things that we're seeing now, where you can't leave the house without seeing something, or even in your house, you can't avoid seeing things about plant-based foods. But that is the result of literal decades of work by, some really amazing pioneers in this industry. So I think that's very exciting.
Well, and there's a lot of energy that's been building up, and it's really now coming to this crescendo. So what do you think the trend is behind this last couple of years? Why is it so much more visible and hitting more menus? What's the reasoning, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think, I guess whatever I say is probably just my opinion.
Well, we're in the opinion business.
Perfect. I think that, people are just ready for this. I think that for years, the way that I've always looked at this industry, and I've been with Upton's Naturals for over 10 years. So I've been, doing this for a little while. And the way that I've always looked at this industry, as a vegan, because I've also been vegan for 20 years, maybe more than 20 years, is, that there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of really great, mostly non-for-profits, that have been setting the stage for why we collectively need to alter our diet, why we should change our diet for animal cruelty reasons, for environmental reasons, sustainability reasons, all of these reasons. And this industry, this industry are the ones that provide those solutions. So, if you do want to cut back on your meat consumption, if you do want to cut back on your dairy consumption, or eliminate those things completely, here's the answer to doing that. It's not necessarily something that you have to just completely give up on. There are a lot of options out there, and these are the companies that are creating them.
Yeah, you've got people who are completely on board, and then you have that new, flexitarian that's experimenting with, how do I substitute and take out cheese or take out meat for some of these meals. I've had some interesting conversations, though, with other entrepreneurs in this space about really the role that plant-based food should be playing in the marketplace, instead of trying to replace a hamburger or something. It should be like its own category. Like, if you're craving a hamburger, that's the issue we should be solving, that you're craving a hamburger, instead of, oh, here's your hamburger craving. Let's put it, where does that fit in this discussion of plant-based foods?
I think that it's almost like this industry is evolving in two directions. And I think that both of those directions are really important and are going to continue to, kind of scratch an itch for people. So there are those companies that are moving towards, one for one solutions like that, quote unquote realistic, like hamburger replacement. But on the other hand, there are companies, kind of like ours, at Upton's Naturals, we aren't necessarily seeking a one for one replacement, but we're moving more towards, or we have, historically offered products that are more, whole food, plant-based ingredients. So, we started as a seitan company. Seitan, the ingredients in seitan are basically just wheat, water, and spices. And we, have often said that it's about as processed as a loaf of bread. So, seitan is an option. We also, several years ago, we launched a seasoned, jackfruit, the first in the US like that. Which is a whole food meat alternative. So I think that whole spectrum of plant-based products is going to be super valuable in giving people options and helping them change, whatever it is that they want to change about their diet, because there is going to be an option for everybody.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting debate.
Yeah, like I said, so my background, even before working in this space, is that I've been vegan since 1996. So I've spent a lot of time as a vegan, and the way that I've seen the available products on the market evolve over time has been amazing. And I think, for me personally, my eating style has never just been that I need an exact replacement for the foods I was eating before. I just needed something that I liked as much. And I think that, there's a lot of things out there that people are going to like just as much as, whatever animal products they're eating.
I like the way you say that, just that you like it just as much. And that's really what it should be, right? It's just you find something that you like and you like it as much, and it just fits into your lifestyle, and you grab and go, and you continue on. I'm really curious though about the board and how it supports the member companies, and perhaps there are some smaller companies or even maybe some larger companies that are maybe wanting to kind of join the Plant-Based Food Association. Can you tell me a little bit more about how it helps and supports and some of the issues and how they come together and discuss it? Do you have conference calls, Zoom calls? Do you meet yearly? What's the setup for these companies, and what types of companies should be considering joining?
So the board of the Plant-Based Foods Association is made up of its member companies. So as a trade association, we exist by and for our member companies. So, that's kind of the heart of everything that we're doing is in support of, the things that our members are telling us, and, that we know also, because every board member also works for a member company, that we are facing. So that's kind of our whole purpose is.
That's your being. That's why you're there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly why we're there. So, so we have a variety of activities, that range from, lobbying efforts, both at the state and federal level. There are and have been a number of laws primarily relating to labeling that have come up in the past few years, that are targeting our industry. And so, addressing those, confronting those head on, solves that immediate problem, but also hopefully solves the problem down the road of further legislation like that being pushed. The other things that we do have regular member calls with different topics and presenters and information. For our smaller companies, we have a mentorship program where you can be paired up with a mentor at a company that's a little bit further down the path, to help kind of answer your questions and point you in the right direction. So there's a number.
So helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. That's what every CEO or co-founders, they've got this beautiful idea. It's come out of their kitchen. There was some kind of need in the family, whatever was the, origin. Mm-hmm. And then they enter the world of consumer packaged goods, and it's like, what have I done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a lot to learn. From my point of view, our company, we have, our founder. Like I said, I've been working with him for the past 10 years, and we have figured a lot of things out ourselves because we are still privately owned, 100% privately owned. So we never had the money to spend to get the expertise. We had to be the expertise. So, I love that mentorship program because whatever I can do to make that path easier for, the companies that are coming up, I am thrilled to do it.
Yeah, and you certainly protect that equity, when you don't have to go out and take a round of funding or seed funding, which a lot of these companies do, just to keep up and try to get the product out.
Well, I think it's important. Just one thing, I think it's important to note because I think that we're living in kind of a world where people believe that the only way to succeed is that path, like that. Like, I can't tell you how many times people are like, just go on Shark Tank, just get an investor.
Yeah, just give away 50% of your company.
Yeah, which is fine. That's a perfectly legitimate path. Obviously there's a lot of companies that are really successful doing that. But that doesn't have to be the only way. Like, there's no reason why this industry shouldn't have, owner operators, smaller, larger, a huge variety of different kinds of companies, different kinds of structures, different kinds of ownership. I think that is really healthy. And so I think that, just letting people know, like, can you make a comfortable living by running this company, selling regionally? Like, that's just as legitimate. I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. It's almost, how do you define success?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really have to be a national distributor? Can you not, fulfill your goals, in a regional market?
Yeah. Yeah. What are your goals?
Exactly. And that kind of, again, comes back to the motive behind why some people get into this industry in the first place. So I think it's kind of an interesting conversation, right? You could have these two forces playing against each other, or they could work in harmony. And you guys have apparently very successfully done it without the funding. So you might call that bootstrapping, and your own revenues, your own profits, then you plow back into the business and you use that for your growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe that way of working was easier 15 years ago when we founded, just because there weren't as many players and there wasn't as much money being invested in the space. Now, now our quote unquote competitors are coming in with just seemingly endless marketing budgets and all of these things. But I think it's still possible. I don't know. I'm glad that we did it the way we wanted to, I guess.
But you bring up a fascinating kind of side point. Money is just about free these days. Right? I mean, you look at...
Well, it seems like there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it being pumped out there, and you see it in the real estate market. Housing prices are going up because interest rates are historically low, and it's the same way for business lending. So you've got a lot of that, a lot of those pressures. It's probably pretty enticing to some people. Now, you may not want to get into this, but I'm sure someone heard a comment you made and they might want me to follow up on it. So you can pass or you can answer if you like, but you did mention that there were some laws that you thought were, kind of targeting the way that, things are labeled. I'm sure that would warrant a follow-up question if you'd like to expand on that. It sounded kind of interesting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, the PBFA and some of our other member companies and also us here at Upton's Naturals have all been plaintiffs in different lawsuits trying to remedy laws like this. We're currently involved, Upton's Naturals and the PBFA are involved in a lawsuit currently on this issue in Oklahoma. There have been a number of state level labeling laws passed about the way in which, for example, a plant-based meat can describe their product on the package, and getting down to like very specific things, font size, proximity, all of those things. And the issue kind of with it is that if these laws, well, first of all, the issue is that these laws are primarily put forward by the Cattlemen's Association and are being pushed through by lawmakers that are friendly with the Cattlemen's Association, which goes to show the importance of trade associations for industry. But these laws primarily claim that products like ours are deliberately deceptive, are deceiving the public, which is not the intention at all for a company like ours. It's, plant-based is growing. The fact that our products are not made from animals is a point of pride for our companies. And so that's something that we are trying to clearly communicate on our package. It's not something that we're trying to obscure. But the issue with these laws is that they're saying, we're using words that are commonly attributed to meat, words like burger, bacon, even milk on the dairy side. And, what our position kind of is that these words, don't indicate ingredients. Rather, they indicate something about usage. So they're letting people know, okay, I get this home and, it's a burger. So I know what to do with a burger. If we call it, a wheat and pea mash,
right. What do I do with this thing? Exactly. It's marketing, it tells people how to use the product, what's it for, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So I think words like that, have evolved already. When we have a burger, what is it made from? Is it made from cows? Is it made from turkeys? Is it made from fish? Is it made from, so even now the word burger doesn't indicate ingredients. It's the same thing with bacon. Is it pig? Is it turkey? Now, is it wheat? Is it soy? Is it, so these words have already, the usage of those words has already expanded, but now that it's expanding in these ways, it's becoming threatening in some ways. So I think it's really important that we speak up about that. And in addition to that, the FDA already has rules around how our nutrition labels need to look, what kinds of claims we can make on the packaging, all of those things that, our companies are following. The problem is that if individual states decide that they know better or they know differently than the FDA and they start implementing different state level laws, well, it's not practical for for our companies to have a different package in every state. It's, distribution doesn't even work like that. So it becomes just a really difficult situation. In fact, the case that we had, I think it was already a couple of years ago now in Mississippi, actually made selling mislabeled per their new regulations, selling mislabeled meat alternatives in the state of Mississippi, criminally punishable. I think it was up to 2 years in prison. Who goes to prison? Is it our president?
The whole supply chain?
Yeah. Is it the retailer? Is it the distributor who,
yes, of course. It's a ludicrous argument. It's a ludicrous argument, of course.
Right. So it's just, a lot of these laws are just not practical. And I struggle, with whether they're intended to be practical or not, or whether they're just meant to discourage business, whether they're meant to discourage our expansion. At any rate,
we're in the opinion business now, aren't we? So I can give you my opinion, and I would say they are there as stumbling blocks.
Yeah.
Clearly,
it
those
certainly
are stumbling
seems that
blocks.
way.
Right. Well, and that's why you come together as a trade association and you have your lobbyist.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something that work I think has been really important in, like I said, in addressing, those things as they come up, but also hopefully in discouraging future challenges like this, because, there's,
it's tough
yeah.
Because what you don't want, well, maybe from your point of view, you would want this to be federal, because then you could go to one single point of contact, if you will, within the FDA, and it be handled nationally. But you've got this big movement where, states want to exert their own power. So, which they have the right to do. So I could see that it's a very complicated situation, because states do have the right to decide what they want. And so where's that happy medium?
Right. Yeah. I think from our perspective, it makes the whole situation, more complicated. If in every state of 50 states, like ultimately we're supposed to be meeting a different standard in terms of our product packaging, I can only imagine. I would love actually to see someone do this, take all of those proposed rules and try to make a package that
oh my God, what would it look like?
Yeah.
Right? That's actually all right. So for you graphic designers that are out there, Nicole wants to see a sketch what this thing would look like. Well, and there's an attorney out there somewhere, that's listening to this, and he's probably saying, come on, guys, all you need is to get some precedents, and then you can, push through the other states. Well, I don't want, I wanted to give a quick follow-up to that. It's fascinating. It's challenging. This is what you're dealing with. And that's one of the benefits of joining. So I imagine whatever the fee is to join, it goes to fight for everyone's right, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a large part of the work that we do is not only addressing these laws when they're passed, but also trying to prevent them from being passed in the first place, from keeping an eye on different, the activities in different state legislatures, to see when these kinds of laws are presented, or sometimes they're kind of added in. These kinds of things are added in with other things that are expected to pass. So just keeping an eye on all of that is a tremendous job.
It's a tremendous job, because I'm in a nonprofit and we work to establish a grassroots organization, and you are establishing grassroots in every state. And when I was thinking about this podcast ahead of time and thinking about your board, the desire to create advocates is necessary. to some degree, some level of influence. And that's really what you want in all these states. You want the citizens who are advocating to who? Well, to the state legislatures. Mm-hmm. Because they're the ones who can stop. They're the ones who can create a sanctuary state, right, for plant-based foods, right, where you're not going to put these onerous regulations in. So that's my take on it. I could be way off base there, but that's how I know other advocacy groups work through the grassroots into the state legislatures.
Yeah. And we have member companies in, I don't know if we have member companies in every state, but probably nearly every state. And certainly the people living in those states are also valuable advocates against these kinds of things. The other the other thing about that is when we're facing these kinds of laws, I've had people say like, oh well, what do you expect from these states in the middle of the country or whatever. Well, I'm from the middle of the country, and I don't think that anybody in the middle of the country is, stupid. I think that they understand when they buy plant-based foods, they understand what they're buying. When they see that on the shelf, it says vegan, they understand what that is. And so, I don't think that they need this kind of like quote unquote protection. I think that this is making things more difficult for the average consumer rather than creating any clarity for them. And so I love the consumers of Mississippi and Oklahoma and, in Illinois where I live.
And of course they know it's a plant-based, alternative. It's very obvious. And I do think it's a stumbling block. And, I think it's good that you're standing up and that you're fighting for it. That's the American way. Fight, make your voice heard. So a company that is in this space, what would be your appeal to them? Why would, other than this is a huge reason to join, to help with those regulations, are there other reasons why a company should want to become a member in this trade association?
Yeah, we have a lot of support. We have data. We as an organization, we're, doing research projects and data projects. And so we have data for you that's helpful in your sales pitches, that's available to members. I think that there's a lot that we have to offer, and we're, continuing to try to expand on that to create more benefit for members. That's something that we're really working on. We have a plant-based seal, so an NSF seal that you can put on your products if you want to make, it like quickly, easily recognizable, make them quickly, easily recognizable on the shelf as plant-based, certified plant-based. I think that we just have a lot going on. We're past the 5-year mark now with the PBFA. And so now we're past like that startup point of the organization, and we're ready to like really, really get going. I think it's a very exciting time for the organization, for plant-based foods to be in this space. And I don't know, it's kind of nice to do it all together.
Well, and you're just a wonderful spokesperson for it too, because this is obviously very, a passion of yours. This is not a fly-by-night business venture, right? This is something that you've been involved. You've been living this lifestyle for 2 decades, and now the last 10, you've been totally living it, right? It's everything. So I think that's great. I know you probably don't have all this data just, at your fingertips, but you did mention all these research projects. Do you have anything kind of interesting, like a juicy nugget, some kind of trend that's going on? What might people not know?
Oh gosh. So I am not a data person.
Okay.
But I know that the PBFA and GFI recently undertook a large data project that is available on the Plant-Based Foods Association Plant-Based Foods Association website that will tell you so many amazing facts. There's charts, there's graphs about the growth of plant-based foods across all categories. It's really very exciting.
It seems like it's in every city, every state. I've asked this question before. I've been trying to get to the bottom of where is a hotbed, but it's pretty evenly distributed from what I'm hearing. Yeah.
And again, I don't have the exact statistics, but one of the things in that study, it shows a map of where, at what rate the sales of plant-based foods are increasing. And, it's not just the coasts. The sales of plant-based foods are increasing, in every part of this country.
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you for confirming that, because that's what I've heard as well. Well, because you do work with entrepreneurs, do you have any advice for entrepreneurs? I know that's a big softball. You can go anywhere you want with that, but knowing the problems and challenges that you're hearing about in the mentorship programs, if there's an entrepreneur out there listening, what would you tell them at this point?
Mm-hmm. I think the things that have been really valuable for us have been, making friends in the industry, communicating with other, not being afraid to reach out to other companies like yours, build those relationships. Sometimes you have a question that just nobody else can answer. Nobody else knows what it's like to work with these distributors or to have these situations come up. So building those relationships is really valuable. And I think also, just like I said, your company doesn't need to look like anything else that you're already seeing out there. I think that there's, in all aspects of business and of life, there's a lot of room for innovation, not only in products, but in the way companies are run, the way they're structured, the way, the ideas people have. And so I would really encourage people to, keep thinking about that. I don't think that the industry benefits when, all the companies are just trying to replicate each other. I think that there's still a lot of innovation that could happen. And so I'm excited to see what people do.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what changes in the supply chain and or through the distributors, because I know some of the organic companies, they struggle with that, delivering fresh food really quickly, and getting the volume up. They like to do small batches, and having to do larger batches to meet the demands of a larger distributor. Really, really challenging. So it really seems like there needs to be more disruption in the supply chain, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting. There's, outside of what's happening regionally, nationally, there's only a few avenues. There's only a few national distributors, especially for natural. So
count them on one hand, right?
I can count them on half of a hand, probably.
I know. I was going to say three, but I thought, okay, I'll just say a hand. Okay.
Yeah. But so I think that there's room for other ideas. I think there's a lot of potential still. This is still a relatively young space. And, I don't know if the natural foods industry in general or the plant-based foods industry specifically, but I don't know if we have to follow the model of conventional food, or if we should be building something that's very, very different.
Yeah. And that's what I was getting at. And I think it's ripe for disruption, because technology is now at our fingertips. So wait and see. We'll have to circle back.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, so as we kind of wrap up, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Upton's Naturals?
Yeah. So we have been in business since 2005, 2006. I joined the company in 2010. when we were making 4 varieties of seitan and we're selling exclusively in the Midwest. Now we've expanded nationwide and into about 20 countries with over 20 different products, retail products.
What are some of your big sellers?
Yeah, we make a line of seitan, which is how we started. We started a seitan company. Our Italian seitan was one of our first products. We also make a line of jackfruit. We have some packaged meals. We just launched our first vegan hot dog called the Up Dog.
I saw that.
Upton's Naturals.
I love it. And you're in Chicago.
I
mean, come on, you've got to have something there.
Yeah, we're a very Chicago company. We're very Midwestern. Chicago is an amazing food city, and we, have a lot going on here. And also this year we launched a line of canned soups, which is a totally new thing for us, which contains seitan. And we have a couple of restaurants here in Chicago where we're kind of always doing something.
Did you just say you launched a meal program?
We have a packaged shelf-stable meal kits and a couple vegan macaroni and cheeses, which are part of our product line.
Those seem to be growing in popularity, those meal kits. Again, they tend to go in cycles.
Yeah, I think, we launched those a few years ago. And so at that time they were, when people still worked in offices, they were a nice thing to just have on hand in your desk in case, you need a quick lunch, whatever. But they're still great. They're good for camping, traveling, and just quick meals at home.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, we're also busy with life and things outside of work that those just fit in beautifully.
Yeah.
So this is a good opportunity for you to put a shout out if there's any particular need that your company has when it comes to talent. A lot of people are listening, and maybe there's a need somewhere in the country or in your headquarters office. I don't know what the needs may be, but you're welcome to put it out there. Maybe someone's listening to and has that particular skill set for you.
Yeah. Well, we are not actively looking, but are potentially interested in expanding our sales team. So, would prefer somebody based in Chicago. And we also have been looking in Chicago for an operations manager for our restaurant side. So someone to work on our restaurant concepts. So those are 2 areas that, maybe we should chat.
Yeah. I mean, you put it out there and these things go viral and someone might just show up. Maybe they'll find you on LinkedIn. Is that new, this restaurant concept? Is that maybe I missed that?
Yeah, no, it's not that new. We opened the restaurant about 8 years ago. We actually had moved facilities. We built a factory with like a restaurant cafe, which is why we named it Upton's Break Room, because it was literally where everyone ate at that time. And so we opened a small restaurant cafe, not that much seating. We opened that when we had moved into that building 8 years ago. Since then, our production outgrew that space. And so now we have another factory, but the restaurant remains. So we have a restaurant there. We opened a vegan donut shop last year.
Oh my gosh, those Liberation donuts look so good.
They are delicious. And I live on the 3rd floor of that.
Oh my God, all the smell,
complex.
Right?
Yeah. I live above the donut shop. It's a real lifestyle.
Deadly. That is deadly. Well, that just forces you back out onto the yoga mat to do more, more work.
Yeah, you definitely have to, I don't know. So you have
willpower.
To have a little bit of separation.
You have to have willpower, come on. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you one final question. As I've already said, we're wrapping up, but so many people come on and they do talk about their superpower, something that they do really, really well that's enabled them to be so successful. And would you like to share something that you do really well in business that maybe other people should try to emulate that has helped you get business done and kind of, win at work?
Yeah. I don't know if it works for everybody, but I consider myself kind of willing to do anything, within reason. But so
you're very open-minded. You're not real rigid, in other words.
Well, whatever job here needs to be done, if I'm available to do it, I'll do it. If it means I walk downstairs and the restaurant's busy and someone needs to run the register for a little while, I run the register. If someone needs to wipe something down, if something needs to be swept, if something's broken, I think just being willing to do whatever needs to be done. And even if that's an ongoing task, that, you're able to take on for a period of time. I think just, I meet, a lot of young entrepreneurs who think it's going to be different. They think that, that they're, they started a company and now they're a CEO and, they're an executive and there are certain things that they don't do. Exactly. I think that there's nothing below or above anybody's title. You do what needs to be done as a team. So I think that that's, a really valuable lesson to learn early, that, if you can do it, do it.
Yeah, I don't know that I can add anything to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that the best people that I've, worked with have operated that way. So I think, it just creates a nicer environment for everybody when, there isn't that perceived hierarchy.
Haughtiness.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's a big part of what I have to do in the talent world is, hone in on that company's culture and help them attract and find that soft skill, right? That fits into the culture. I mean, you hear it all the time. You have to have culture if you don't, and that's what you're talking about. So for those of you out there that are listening, you better have that if you're going to contact Nicole. Otherwise, don't even bother.
Yeah, I think there's and to expand upon that, I guess, in terms of, recruiting and having a staff, I think there's a difference between that and expecting too much of people, pushing people too hard, which is often, described as, as a necessary environment in kind of a startup situation or a smaller business situation. I don't think that you should impose on people's personal time or, things like that. But I do think that, when you're at work, if there's something needs to be done, I don't know, just do it.
Good clarification. Well, Nicole, this has been quite a deep dive. I think we covered a lot. I think people have learned a lot about the nuances of trying to grow and develop a business in the plant-based space and some of the challenges that, in the headwinds and the stumbling blocks that are out there in the protein world. There is an old saying, and it was, when you're receiving flack, you're over the target, or when you're getting flack, you're over the target. So that should show you, that you're making headway.
Yeah, I guess that's good to know.
I mean, I'm an optimist, so that's how I have to process, when people come after something. If they try to tear you down, it's obviously because you're doing something good. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they would just leave you alone and you're irrelevant. And and you're not. So thank you, Nicole. Very informative. And I'll put links everywhere. When we do publish this, you'll be able to find her. You'll be able to find Upton's Naturals. You'll be able to find a link to the PBFA. Is it pbfa.org or .com?
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Uh-oh. I shouldn't have asked.
Now
I'm going to have to go check.
It's plantbasedfoods.org.
Plantbasedfoods.org. So we did have a .org in there. So we'll get all that. We'll get all that tagged. Again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.